Art in the 20th century experienced a departure from beautiful and romantic academic works of the 19th century. Art was becoming a medium to discuss social issues and social change like poverty, wealth inequality, exploitation, and war. The artists Pablo Picasso and Ludwig Meidner both have produced works discussing social change, politics, and the victims of war. In Ludwig Meidner's Apocalyptic landscape, we see a town that is being skewed by a violent force, as well as the ground breaking up as people are frantically running across the scape. It is a German expressionist piece that was created just before the start of World War I. It signified the expressionist views of social change in Germany brought up by industrialization. In Pablo Picasso's Weeping Woman with Handkerchief, it can represent the end outcome of politics where the state has declared war on another or its own people. A surreal portrait of a woman is portrayed who is weeping. Both works describe how political conflict in society can lead to suffering of ordinary people. Pablo Picasso was born on October 25th, 1885, in Malaga, Spain. His father was a professor of art and trained Picasso in the arts from a young age. He eventually displayed his paintings at an exhibition in Paris, France, in 1900. He received positive feedback to his work, which allowed him to become more widely known in the art community. He is known for his Blue period and later his Cubist works. Picasso explored many themes, including Mediterranean styles, but is most famous for his political artworks. He was concerned about poverty during the Blue period, and later the horrors of war in his famous work Guernica, which captured the chaos of the Spanish Civil War and questioned the inaction of neighboring countries. Shortly after, he created the series of Weeping Woman paintings, which captured the horror and sadness in which ordinary people had experienced as a result of the war. Ludwig Meidner was born on April 18th, 1884, in Bernstadt, Germany, which is now Poland. As a young man, he apprenticed to a bricklayer. He went on to study at the Royal School of Art, and later he worked in Paris as an illustrator before moving to Berlin, where he became impoverished. He would paint scenes of Berlin. He decided to make expressionist works after he met an artist, Max Beckham. Meidner founded the expressionist group De Pathetinka, or the Pathetic Ones, devoted to graphic arts. He was later persecuted by the extremist political party, the Nazi regime, for his artwork the party condemned as degenerate art. Ludwig Meidner's Apocalyptic Landscape, 1913, portrays how a society's foundation can be rocked by social change. This work was made 3 years before the beginning of World War I, which makes it surprising as it could have been interpreted about being about the war. It shows how the public knows about social instability and they are aware of their country and politicians' actions and wrongdoings. In Catherine Cook's The Apocalyptic Landscape of Ludwig Meidner, she opines Meidner was unique among his artistic contemporaries for claiming that cities were the new homeland of German citizens. He saw the modern metropolis as a crucial site for initiating real cultural change. His representation of the city during an apocalypse demonstrates expressionist ideas about creation through destruction. Meidner represents the moment when the apocalypse destroys a city, making destruction a central theme to his apocalyptic painting. End quote. The sentiment in Germany at the time was that great societal change would come after destruction. Germany during the early 20th century was still an authoritarian state which focused power at primarily the top of society and where many workers still lacked rights and were exploited. Meidner was aware of these politics in Europe and assumed that great change would come even through war. In this piece, we are drawn to the sky that is made with thick, loose, and geometric brushstrokes. Though we see parts of the town that are warped, like being viewed from different perspectives, the storm in the sky is painted with many triangles. The shape can symbolize that God is upset and striking down on humanity's corruption in the city. It gives a feeling of a rippling motion throughout the piece that we feel as though the ground is shaking underneath us. The figures panicking are faceless, meaning that they are ordinary people and they can be one of us. The sharpness of the brushstrokes produce a feeling of panic and speed of the disaster. The work ultimately does not condemn the city, but condemns the inequity that comes with living in the city and the unwillingness to help one another. In Pablo Picasso's The Weeping Woman with Handkerchief in 1937, it represents the suffering experienced from war. It was created after the bombing of the town of Basque. The woman is modeled after his partner, surrealist photographer Dora Maar. It is composed to make the audience to be able to feel the sadness the woman is experiencing. In Christopher Knight's The Pain and Passion of Picasso's Woman, he states, "The sobbing eyes and the handkerchief are marvelous inventions. Thick black lines stream weightily from the eyes, which are themselves shaped like teardrops. The handkerchief is adjacent in the crumpled cloud, which Picasso has muddled with an agitated storm of scribbled pencil lines." End quote. The black lines create weight that is heavy, which symbolizes the emotional heaviness the woman is experiencing. It is exaggerated by the repeat of the teardrop shapes of the eyes and nostrils. The hand is distorted as if she has frantically pressed her hand against her chest in exclamation. We have the feeling of movement of her head because of the shape of her head being distorted, but also that it appears that her head is teetering on her neck, which is shaped like a triangle. Triangles are repeated across the work, in the headscarf, neck, and head. They symbolize that this woman is Christian. It means that God is crying with the woman, or that the Catholic Church does not have the will to help their own people. Both Pablo Picasso and Ludwig Meidner's works are different, but still revolve around themes of social change, war, and the experience of people. Meidner discusses the actions that lead up to war through industrialization and the struggle between the wealthy and the poor. Meidner and his contemporaries expected that their art would lead people towards new ideas and transform the existing political, social, and cultural landscape. His paintings symbolize the destruction of a city as the change to a new era with not as much political power for the most affluent in society. Whilst Picasso's work discussed the impact of people's lives after the politics had been set in motion, it is about the fascist government bombing innocent people in the town of Basque. In both works, we see elevated emotions as one person frantically running from a city under a symbolic disaster and another woman crying because of a real disaster. Both artists believe that innocent people will get hurt by the actions of governments. In this case, the German and Spanish, the artists assume that they prioritize their political power over the well-being of their own people. Both cases, these countries unfortunately succumbed to an extreme nationalistic government. Ultimately, both these works portray a collapse in society. Meidner presents a social status quo underneath a town collapsing. Picasso portrays a woman of Basque who is a normal person affected by war. Despite these works being from different art movements and about 20 years apart, they still discuss suffering in modern society. How governments and wealthy industrialists attempt to benefit themselves and also lead to suffering of ordinary people. Both works having taken place before a world war shows that how in society what leads to war and how citizens understand the power struggle within their own country.